heritage of the Mustang. And as you walked in, you probably saw the images of the 50 years of Mustang. You ask the customer what they like about Mustang, they've always got their favourite one. Well, what we did to the customer, we didn't want to ask them, what details you want on a Mustang. We're designers, we know what the details are. We know how to make a Mustang look like a Mustang. So what was the imagery of the Mustang that they talked about? And these images on the board, there's three images here that are very important. The first one is the fist breaking the glass. And people talked about that as being breaking through and being free. So that's really what Mustang's about in terms of the imagery of being free and driving a Mustang, the open road. And to me, it's also a little bit about the face of the car as well. There's nothing subtle about the front of a Mustang. You want to be able to look in a mirror and know there's a Mustang coming up behind you. So that's the fist breaking through the air. And then Steve McQueen. The great thing with Steve McQueen, obviously there's the association with bullets, but we actually had people picking the picture of Steve McQueen, younger people, they tell me, who didn't even know who Steve McQueen was, which I can't believe, to be honest, but they said, this is the epitome of what we want to be. This is the sort of masculine cool we talk about, He's not Rambo, he's not muscled up, he's not big, but he can deliver, and he will give you whatever you want. And quite frankly, I don't think there's anyone that doesn't like Steve McQueen or doesn't want to be Steve McQueen. And then the other one is the cat, the panther. And that's about power and control. And what we say about that is, people want the power in a Mustang, but they want to be able to control it as well. And it really epitomized in the image of the cat. What the cat also is about, to me, is about the stance of the vehicle. The stance is the way the car sits. You see that cat is ready to pounce. So we really make sure the stance of the vehicle has got the similar attitude in terms of how we build the surfaces, how we create muscles around the vehicle, how we make the vehicle ready to pounce. So we walk towards the front of the car, just to talk about a couple of details. You see that we talked about this shape here being the sharp right of the car, and there's the leaning forward nose of Mustang, which all the great Mustangs have always had. We also looked at the bluff front end, and that's again, it's the fist, that's what I'll be later. The fist breaking through the air, and the lack of bumper shelf as well. But what we've also done, and this goes around the proportions of the vehicle generally, we're trying to change the proportions of the vehicle, make it lower, make it wider, make it more sleek. And if you look at the aspect ratio of the headlamps, that's another way to visually make the car wider and also give the impression of it being a wider car with a great stance. And then as you walk around the side of the car, we've actually moved the A-pillar backward, so we get this what we call dash to axle distance, and that really helps the performance aspect of the car. Then on the side, we stuck the body sides in. What we want to do is what we call shrink wrapping the car. We want to take the mechanics of the car, we want to shrink wrap the sheet metal, we want to make it a legitimate sports car. And then, as Alan said, the fastback is outside. We've really accentuated these points of the fastback as well. We've really given this a true fastback, really fast angle to the backlight. We've given the car great haunches, again going back to the cat image, tapered to that leg angle, and really given the car muscles at the rear. And then also unified the DLO, what we call the DLO, which is the daylight with the window. And what that does is it accentuates the proportional change in the car, makes the car sleeker, makes the car visually longer. And then of course you walk to the rear of the car, and we've got the iconic tri-bar tail lamps, but done in a much more modern way, done with modern technology, done with a three-dimensional feel to them, but really signature Mustang. Nothing else has got a car that's got a rear end like this. And then of course, the same as we've done in the interior. We've really taken a lot of the Mustang elements and really taken them into the 21st century, broken it up in a different way, but still recognizable as Mustang. You see the double binnacles with the genuine materials in terms of the aluminum wing that crosses the car. And then the symmetry of the car is another Mustang hue. Then if you sit in the car, there was a lot of inspiration taken from aircraft interiors. We really wanted the driver of this car to feel like a pilot in an aircraft. So it's got great readable analog gauges, great switches, all intuitive, very easy to handle. We've even got really nice toggle switches which you can use to select the driving modes in the car, and Dave will tell you a little bit more about that. And then of course, great looking seats, not just great looking seats, but they're also really comfortable. They also hold you in position when you're driving the car the way it should be driven. So, talking about driving the car, I'm going to introduce Dave Pericak, who's going to talk a little bit more about all the engineering that's gone on with this great exterior. So Dave.
As Moray mentioned, mentioned, the proportions were extremely important in order to deliver the striking design that we have. And as an engineering team, we were challenged to actually deliver those proportions for our students. What I'd like to do is just sort of scope for you a little bit about how much change we actually made. We pulled up the image of the current Mustang, there you go. So this gives you an idea of how much lower and wider the car actually is versus the outgoing car. I don't have a fastback here, but I'll just, when the roof came down 38 millimeters. The hood came down 32 millimeters. The A-pillar was moved rearward 32 millimeters. And pretty staggering, the deck lid is down 70 millimeters over the outgoing car. All of those changes required to give you that beautiful silhouette and the sculpted vehicle that we have. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, the fastback looks great, you lowered everything, you widened it, what did you do on the inside? Well, we did a lot of smart engineering. So what we did is when all that was happening, we actually gave more room to the occupants. So the front occupants had more shoulder, hip, and knee room. Same for the rear occupants. When you look at that deck lid back here that I said was down 70, and you can see that fastback breaking into it, we actually have more cargo area in the trunk. So I'll give you an example of where that's going to be really important. If you buy a premium audio system today, today's car, and you try to put 2 golf bags in, you will not be able to do it unless you drop the seats. In this car, you're able to put those 2 golf bags in and not drop the seats. When you do drop the seats, though, however, the pass-through has been improved. 30 millimeters more room to pass things through. And then the lift-over has also been lowered by 50 millimeters, so easier to get things into the trunk. You can see the beautiful haunches that Moray talked about here. We actually widened the sheet metal 40 millimeters, and we took the track width out 70 millimeters. So some very significant changes to get the vehicle that you see and get the proportions correct. Let's talk about power. We have the most powerful and fuel-efficient lineup that Mustang has ever seen. 3 engines. It starts with a 3.7-liter naturally aspirated V6. 300 plus horsepower. This will serve as our entry, very affordable option. We also are bringing in, new to Mustang, EcoBoost. A 2.3-liter EcoBoost, which is new to the EcoBoost family, and specifically designed for performance in the Mustang. This engine has been upgraded in many different ways. The internals, for instance, steel crankshaft, we have twin scroll turbo, we have a lot of technology in this EcoBoost to output more power and torque than the V6, and yet more fuel efficient. So that's truly the and solution. Now I've had the opportunity, as we designed and developed the car, to be out on the track with that EcoBoost, and I can tell you that it will put a smile on your face. It is extremely fun to drive and worthy of being in the Mustang. And then of course at the top of the lineup is the 5-liter V8. And we have to stop improving that one as well. Taking learnings from the Boss 302, the 5-liter V8 is going to increase in horsepower, and will also increase in fuel economy. So we're making the engine breathe better, and we're using some internals right from the Boss engine to get more horsepower out of that V8. Now, all 3 of those engines are married up to 2 6-speed transmissions. Same transmissions that we have today, except they've undergone a little bit of an overhaul. The automatic transmission. Internals have been upgraded for improved fuel economy and also for the increased horsepower torque that we're putting through. We also are having standard paddle shifters with our automatic. And we're going to rev match in the downshifts, and when you put the car in sport mode, you're going to get quicker and more aggressive shifts. And again, not fun to drive. The manual has also been upgraded for much smoother shifting. The plane spacing has been widened out a bit. The clutch has been redone, and then synchros have been upgraded as well. It's very rewarding smoothing shifting with the manual. Now, let's talk suspension. Everybody knows by now, we do have an independent rear suspension in the vehicle. Yeah, let's go ahead. Clap. That's all right. We have a world-class integral link suspension that will reside in this car. It has been specifically designed and engineered for the Mustang. This suspension has allowed us to do a lot of great things. It takes a lot of the compliance out of the rear end. It gives us levers that we never had before to get better performance. But when we were putting that in the car, it became very apparent that the front suspension also had to be overhauled. And Alan's reminding me, we have a double ball joint front suspension up front. There it is. But what was really important about that, guys, was when we put the suspension in, it was so capable that the front became the limiting factor. So we had to redesign the front. Double ball joint front suspension allows us to match what's going on in the rear and get the most out of this vehicle. It also enabled us to put larger brakes in the vehicle. Very, very important, as we've increased the top speed of the car, with the V8 going 155 miles an hour. The brake system, we have 3 levels of brakes. The first is a 2-piston floating caliper that will reside on the V6 and on the EcoBoost. We then have a 4-piston fix with 14-inch rotors, similar to today's Brembo, but with more capacity. That will be the standard brake on the GT, and it will be an optional brake on the EcoBoost. And then the GT will have a performance package. And you can, when you option to that, you will get a 6-piston fixed Brembo branded brake with a 15-inch rotor. We have the best brake system we have ever had on Mustang. Technology, huge part of the story. More than 20 new technologies are being brought into the Mustang. All of the things that we've heard our customers tell us throughout the years are going to be here, and some surprises as well. It all starts with intelligent access being standard in 2015. No more keys are needed, whether it's a V6 or V8. When you get in the car, you're going to push button start that car on all Mustangs, standard again. And right next to that push button start, most Mustangs are going to be equipped with a set of toggle switches. One of those toggles are going to control a new feature called driving modes, and that's selectable driving modes. And that's, you're going to toggle between normal mode, track mode, sport mode, or snow wet mode. And as you toggle between those modes, we're going to change 3 major systems in the car. Your steering system, your engine control, and then your traction control and your electronic stability control. And we will optimize all of those settings for you to get the most out of the vehicle. Now, true to Mustang form and being the most customized car on the planet, if you want to customize your own settings, even though we've optimized them for you, there are other toggles right next to that that will allow you to change your steering efforts or your electronic stability control if you'd like to. We're also going to bring launch control standard on all V8s. So right through the steering wheel controls, you'll be able to set the RPM and launch the car as it should be launched. We're going to have blind spot monitoring, adaptive cruise, and all the other great things that we have at Ford Motor Company. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jacques Brent, who's a global marketing manager, to talk a little bit about our customer.